Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday. I am so excited. Ooh, it is hot outside today. Listen, I love spring slash summer, and I love summertime in Chicago. And I am Chantelle Branch, your domestic violence specialist. I educate individuals on why their decision to remain silent keeps them locked in abuse. I am so happy that you decided to tune in this Thursday. I know it's hot. I know we just have so much going on. Some of us are sitting under AC. Some of us are eating, fruits and just enjoying popsicles and ice cream. This is like my favorite time to indulge in sweets and also work out like heavy and then I can indulge in sweets, right? So I think it goes together. It works hand in hand. Speaking of which, listen, guys. This is the Identity of a Woman series for 2021. We're going to continue to dive in and dig deep. I think we started off in the beginning. We talked about love, 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 love. And now we're going deep. We're diving deep into the soul, deep into the body, deep into the spirit, deep into the conscious and the subconscious. Why? Because all of those impact and affect our identity. It affects our makeup. It affects our character. It shapes and transforms who we are. And I believe that if we can change our mindset to reflect the things that we want to be or the person that we want to become, then we are doing the work, right? We are in the working process. And if we have suffered some trauma, been in toxic relationships, and just gone through some things that we need healing from, being in the process of doing the work. That's where you want to be. You want to be doing the work on yourself, on your body, on your spirit, on your soul, on you. Because if you're transformed, your mind is being transformed in that same time. The same time, those same steps that you're working on is not only transforming your mind, it's transforming your body, it's transforming your spirit, and it's transforming your soul. Why is that important? What does that look like? We're going to dive deep in it today. Listen, I had to bring on a guest because I need help. I need help to have these conversations. I can have with myself all day in my head, but if I'm not getting that information out to you, then I'm doing you a disservice. And my goal and my job is to help shape the woman that you ultimately want to become, right? Fathers, help shaping your daughters, help aiding and being that helpmate to your wife is so important. And how do we do that? We do the work, we learn, we educate ourselves, and then we apply it. And even if it doesn't look like how the book said, or how that speaker or that coach or that podcast that you listen to, it doesn't look like how they said, the, the purpose is to do the work. Even if you fail, you keep doing the work. And the more you do the work, the more experiences you will have, the more um, the more outcomes you begin to see, the closer you get to your goal. It's reaching those mini goals in order to get to that big ultimate goal. So listen, I'm going to bring on a guest, Miss Raven. She is going to help us dive deep into our soul. What is it like to do soul work? What is soul work? Have you guys ever heard of it? Well, I have a great guest that is going to help us understand it and dive deep into it. So, hi, Raven. How are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. You are welcome. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure. My name is Raven Nole. I'm a counselor, life coach, and speaker. I'm known as the soul physician, and I equip goal oriented women to deal with the emotional past that impacts their future success. I typically work with women, helping them overcome childhood trauma, helping them overcome self limiting beliefs, helping them overcome just anything that's limiting them from the inside out. And so I truly love the work that I do. I truly love working with individuals as well as groups. And I'm excited to be able to be here to talk to you a little bit more about the soul, what it is, why it's important to work through it, to work on it, and how to do so. So I think that that's important as well, not only to have the conversation about what it is, but actually how to help you do the work that's necessary for you to heal and to become whole. So thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be able to have this conversation with you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So let's go deep into soul work. I want to maximize our time. And for those of you that are listening, we know that after experiencing 2020 and we're still in the pandemic, we're slowly creeping our way out. So guys, that's important. Still wear your mask, still do what you need to do to be safe, practice safety and be considerate of others. Make sure you're wearing your mask around, especially our loved ones that have pre-existing conditions. So
Mhm.
with that
Mhm.
being said, going into soul work, what
Yeah.
is soul work?
Well, the soul, when I talk to people about the soul, I like to tell them that the soul is made up of your mind, your will, and your emotions. Okay. So when you think about your mind, you have to think about your thoughts. You have to think about things that are happening inside of the mind, even memories. You have to think about the subconscious and the conscious mind. You have to think about all those different aspects. And then you have the emotions, right? The feelings. You have different things, signals that go off that tell you something internally is happening or something externally is happening that's affecting me. And so then you have your will and you have your ability to decide. You have your ability to choose. And so the soul is compounded of all those different things. The soul is who you are. The soul is your life history. The soul is the things that have gone well for you, the things that have not gone well for you. The soul is made up of memories that are not so good or happy and memories that are happy. And so the soul is made up of many different components of who you are. When you think about the soul, you have to think about just who you are in full, just everything that's happened in life stored up inside of you. That is what the soul is, and that is what the soul houses.
Wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
I hope everybody understood that. The soul has everything. It's got everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is jam packed with everything. And I think it's important that we address that and kind of get that definition on the front end, because oftentimes, and I don't know if you've experienced it, but sometimes, when I'm working with people or just some people that I've known throughout the years, you get into a relationship, the relationship ends, and you are literally 5 days later, you on to the next relationship, right? So you
Yeah.
post on
Mhm.
social media, you post on Facebook. Me and Joe Snow are in a relationship. 2 weeks later, I could do better, better by myself. 3 weeks later, I'm living my best life. Life is good. I don't
Mhm.
need
Mhm.
nobody. 4 weeks later, y'all pray for me.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we go through this crazy process of getting out of a relationship, quickly going into another relationship, and it literally impacts our soul. If the soul houses
Yeah.
everything that we see, that we hear, that we experience, how do
Mhm.
we, or what are some steps that we should process after we break up, after we end the relationship? It's over
Yeah, I
before we
think
get
that's
to
a
the
great
next one.
question. I just think people don't take the time to heal. I think that people are so in a rush to go on to the next thing that they don't give themselves time to process. Number one, if the relationship was toxic, how did I end up in that relationship? That's first and foremost. If I'm in a dysfunctional, toxic relationship that could be abusive, whether that's mentally, emotionally, physically, how did I get there? And I think people want to move on to the next relationship because that next relationship just feels that emptiness that you feel inside of the brokenness or the pain or the hurt that you're experiencing from the relationship you just broke up with or from. And so I think that women need to take time to really think about, okay, how did I get in this relationship and why was I in it? Why did I allow the abuse to happen, or why did I allow myself to be in something that was not healthy for me? And so if we rush into the next relationship, we don't give ourselves time to process through the breakup. We don't give ourselves time to process through why I made that decision. And so we have to be able to confront ourselves in the mirror and look at ourselves and say, okay, wait a minute. Why did you stay in that relationship so long? Why did you allow so and so to treat you the way that they treated you? Why did you allow yourself to be in, this type of toxicity? And so it's important that we take time to process. Anytime there is trauma, anytime there is pain, anytime there is a breakup in general, a separation of a relationship that you've been in for a period of time, it's important that you process through that relationship. What happened? What went well? What did not go well? What mistakes did I make? What did I overlook? Were there red flags? Were there things that I should have addressed and I did not? Was I in this relationship because I'm insecure? What drew me to this person? Is it because I have attachment issues? Different things. That am I codependent? So you want to be able to process through what that relationship is teaching you, because in any relationship there's a moment to be taught, especially if the relationship does not end well or the relationship does not continue. Why did it happen? What happened? What occurred? And so it's important that we process through these different aspects before we move on to anything else.
Wow, you said a mouthful right there. I heard
Yeah.
insecurities, and I heard
Mhm.
accountability.
Mhm.
And we we I mean, ladies, we cannot always be the victim in a relationship. I'm just gonna say
True.
it. We cannot always be the victims. Oh, he did this. Oh, it ended because so and so did this. And being responsible, being accountable for our actions. Sometimes
Mhm.
are you that person that reacts quickly?
Yeah.
They're trying to say something in a nice way to you that maybe you feel offended by, but really it's something that you're doing. It's something that you're doing that is affecting someone else, and they have the right to say, hey, this is affecting me, right? And that's their personal boundary. And because you don't have any boundaries, you just all over the place, and you popping off at the mouth, right? You say whatever. So now they have hurt you, they have offended you, been really, and you want to play the victim when really you're the antagonist. You may be the antagonist of that relationship.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I like that Raven is saying that look at that relationship, process through it. There's no way that
Yeah.
you should be out of a relationship and we see, okay, listen, you put it out there on Facebook, relationship over, right? 2 weeks later, you're in a new relationship with so and so. You told us.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And so we know, I mean, I know, and other people know that you did not process that relationship. You cannot process a 2-year relationship in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about the time and why? I know it's no exact time frame on
Yeah.
processing, but can you just talk about what happens when you don't process it, or you start the process, but you don't finish?
Yeah, I think that's when you get in relationships and the new person you are in a relationship with resembles something that the ex person you were in a relationship with. Completely two different people, completely two different perspectives, completely two different mindsets. But if they resemble anything of a pain point from the past relationship, if they don't communicate and it was a little bit overwhelming or painful or gave you anxiety because the last person was a cheater or they lied to you and they did not communicate, that's going to trigger you back into thinking that this person is who you just came out of a relationship with. And so when you do that type of stuff, then you are punishing the person you are currently in a relationship with for something that they had no idea even may have even happened to you. So it's important that you take that time out to say, let me process through the pain of this relationship, or let me process through the failure that I may feel through this relationship, or let me just process through what happened in general in this relationship. So I have time to resolve in myself that I'm not taking baggage from an old place into a new place, that I'm not taking an old pain point and making someone else pay for it because I did not heal from it. And so it's important, everyone heals in their own timing. There's no, set time that you can heal from a relationship. Sometimes people take longer than others. It just needs to be intentional. And you also need to make sure that you are actually healed before moving into that next place. And that doesn't have to be rushed. It's like, what's the rush? Take your time, make sure you're thinking about yourself, focusing on yourself, and then enter into something different.
Absolutely. And I like the
Yeah.
fact that you said, don't rush. Take the time to heal, because what's the point of being unhealed and carrying that same old baggage, that
Mhm.
same load of bricks, that bag
Yeah.
of bones, into that new relationship? Because I don't want you to carry no bag of bones into the new relationship with me. I want it to be smooth sailing, and this doesn't have to be just intimate relationships. This can be friend relationships. This can be work
Mhm. Mhm.
relationships.
Mhm. Mhm.
Relationships are so vital to. I think it's vital to life.
Yeah.
Having relationships with people. I don't care if you're an introvert and you swear you'll never leave your house, but you go to the corner store, or you interact with people. If it's only 5 people in a year, you still have some type of relationship with them, and you because you're that kind of person. I'm sure you're going to go to the same places anyway, because it's something it's something there that you like, right? It's something there
Yeah.
that keeps drawing you and pulling you back to that place. And that is a part of building a relationship. It's something there that
Mhm.
they have, that you need, that you want, and it continues. You continue to go back to that place. Like in the same
Yeah.
way, if it's a platonic relationship, sisterhood, right? We
Mhm.
we give and we take, and then we're accountable for when we mess up. And then
Mhm.
how many of us are, dropping in the comments, how many of us have had relationships, sisterhood relationships that we started maybe when we were 15 to 16, and now 15, 20 years later, you're no longer friends with that woman. You know, how, and like if you really process through that relationship, I understand sometimes we just grow out of people. And I think that's
Mhm.
one of the hardest things to accept, that you have come
Mhm.
to your place in the life and you realize you have outgrown your good girlfriend since you were 15 years old.
Mhm. Mhm.
But what about that relationship that ended prematurely because you didn't take accountability, because you
Mhm.
want to play the victim, because you did not process through the pain?
Yeah.
I'm telling y'all, I had to get a specialist because I want us to get it. I want us I want us to get it. I really, really do. And I want to switch gears a little bit and dive a little bit deeper into that pain, the
Yeah.
pain and the trauma that people experience in childhood. And so my
Mhm.
question is, how do we process, you know, child molestation or being raped at a young age?
Yeah.
I mean, I believe there's so many people that have not, I don't believe it. Okay, there are people that have been molested
Mhm.
as a child that have not dealt with that pain. It's,
Yeah.
it's to the
Mhm.
point that maybe it happens between 6 and 8, and you completely wipe it out of your brain, and you forget that you've experienced that. But when it comes to maybe intimate relationships with people, and going to bed with
Mhm.
them, you're struggling in that area, but you don't know why you have an
Yeah.
issue when it comes to that area. Can you help us work through that, or some tips to help us begin to start the process?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Childhood molestation is very common, unfortunately. That's the unfortunate thing about it. But as women, I think it's extremely important that, number one, you do seek help from a therapist or a counselor to be able to help you process through it, because childhood molestation is extremely traumatic and it has multiple effects on a person. A lot of people end up with a lot of mental health struggles because of it. And then also, you have people that may feel that may have happened to them, but they can't actually remember. So a lot of times the brain will try to protect itself from the trauma that you've experienced. And so those memories are no longer present as far as in the conscious mind. And so you may dream about, an instance, right? You may have a dream where you have a snippet of something happening, but you can't finish the full dream. Or you realize that when people touch you, you kind of bag up, or you don't really like physical affection. Or once you are in a relationship, you get married or whatnot, and you try to have intimacy with your spouse, and you realize that you have some intimacy issues or different things of that nature. So sometimes those can be telltale signs that something may have occurred that you can't necessarily remember occurred. And so I tell people, because they get very frustrated with what's wrong with me. Why can't I? Why do I keep having this reoccurring dream? Why don't I like physical affection or touch? Why do I have intimacy issues? All these different things. And so if you are a person that's struggling there, then I would suggest that you go and see a counselor or a therapist, because I guarantee you there's some underlying issue. There's so many things that could have happened in childhood that you do not remember. And the earlier it happened, the harder it is for you to remember, especially a starting point of something. And so once it becomes a multiple offense where it happens so much, there's going to be so many layers to that you have to really heal through. And so the first step in that is, being vulnerable and transparent enough to say, I'm going to reach out to a counselor or therapist to help me, because you want to make sure that even processing through a pain point like that or a trauma like that, can be very triggering. And you want to do that in a very safe environment with someone that can actually help you process through it in a healthy manner.
Yeah, I was definitely going to
Yeah.
say add to that, but you said it already. Making sure, a safe environment. You want to make sure that
Yeah.
it's a safe environment. And then also being able to be vulnerable. Allow
Yeah.
yourself to be vulnerable. And that's why it's
Yeah.
important. Okay, you get in that safe space, you're in that space, you're talking to this individual, and you know that it's safe, right? Your woman intuition tells you it's safe. Your knower tell you feel something in your spirit, you feel something in your spirit. You just know that okay, this is a safe space. Allow
Mhm.
yourself to be vulnerable enough to open up and to begin to take the band-aid off because the band-aid
Mhm.
is bulging, is leaking. I mean, especially if it's old and it's been years of trauma, the bandage is old. They don't even make band-aids like that no more, right? So being able to take that band-aid off and be exposed in a safe space is okay.
Mhm.
It's okay. And the reason we want you to get it and you have to go back, unfortunately, I think that that's a fear that people have, having to go back to the
Yeah.
past.
It's hard. It's hard. It really is. It's very hard, and it can be very triggering to have to relive, a situation that was very painful and hurtful. And then on top of that, there's a lot of shame sometimes, and even guilt that's associated with it, and that really does stop people from being able to be open, and to be transparent and vulnerable, even in a safe place. So I would just encourage anyone that's processing through that to take your time. There's no pressure to say, you have to tell me everything right now in this first session, right? When you meet with a therapist or a coach, take your time. Maybe the first couple sessions, you may just be opening up about your childhood in general, and then you feel more comfortable and more comfortable, and then you'll realize that you start having more memories about what happened because you start processing through it, and all those suppressed and repressed memories are coming forward. And so it takes time, and sometimes it does take you to talk about it to remember what happened, or even talk about it to feel safe enough to say what happened.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And I like that you said, and I just want everybody to know that although you've put it out of your mind, or like Raven was saying that maybe it happens at such a young age that you can't remember,
Yeah.
but you also mentioned um, the mind, and you talked about the repressed memories. And when
Yeah.
you begin to talk about it, how the memory opens up, and then you begin to remember more and more,
Hmm.
right? Um,
Hmm.
Tell us or give us a little tip of how do we, when we are at that moment and say we've had that counseling session and that was a tough counseling session, what can we
Yeah.
do like during that week or during that time between the next counseling session to cope, or to kind of get through it, because you've exposed
Yeah.
something, you're remembering stuff, and now more memories are flooding into your brain. What do we
Hmm.
do in that time while we're waiting for that next session?
I always encourage my clients to journal. I think that's important, that you have a place to put your thoughts as well as to put your feelings. And sometimes it can become overwhelming to verbalize it, or you don't feel safe enough to verbalize it outside of that session that you may be with that professional that you're working with. And so it's important that journal, if you feel like there's a moment where, you're high in emotions and things are beginning to surface, journal that out, just like you would talk to someone that you feel safe with, or you would talk to someone that you feel like you can open up with that journal. Let that pen to that paper just go until there is no stopping. If you cry, let yourself cry. If you do become overwhelmed, I think it's important for you to take a moment, stop if it becomes too much, especially if you're by yourself, because you don't want to get triggered in a place where anxiety becomes a thing. You want to make sure that uh, uh, you have a safe place to do that, because panic attacks can also be very triggering when you start working through trauma. And so once those panic attacks do start, they're very hard for those things, and it's very rare for them not to continue. So it's important that whatever you're processing, that you involve someone in that process, and that you can always use a journal to be able to write out what you're experiencing.
I like that. I like the
Yeah.
way you explained journaling. I think
Yeah.
that I've run across people, and sometimes they'll say, well, my therapist told me to journal, but I don't want to journal, I don't feel like journaling. But I like the fact that you said journaling helps you put your thoughts in a place.
Yeah. Mhm.
And it's coming out of you because you can't hold it all in. That's where that stress and that anxiety and it's something that you're holding in your body. It's like your mind and your body are in a fight. Your body like, I want to
Yeah.
get it out. I want to get it out. Your mind's like, no, 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 no. And it's like they're battling against each other, but being able to get it out, it's a release.
It is. It is.
For y'all
Mhm.
listening, it's a release.
Yeah.
And when you think about the trauma that you are holding in, think about how many years you've held it in. You come
Mhm.
all the way to this place. You've made the appointments. You showed
Mhm.
up. Do not, and I don't even want to say let yourself down, but don't give up on yourself to the point where I'm just going to stay closed up and keep it all in. Because they did
Yeah.
you 15 years or they did you 20 years or however long you've been holding it. It hasn't done you these many years of any good, right? So let's make the next step to be getting it out and the next years of your life to be your best years because you
Mhm.
dealt with it, you sat in there, you went through the process, and you didn't give up on yourself. You gave yourself time to heal. This is a microwave world, right? And on social media we see everything going fast, but when it comes to doing that healing work, that soul work, that work to
Yeah.
make me a better person, it takes time. It's a process.
It does.
Don't
Mhm.
give up on you. um yeah, that was really really good. So I mean, because I hear it all the time, I don't want to journal, I'm not good at
Yeah.
writing,
Yeah.
I don't know how to
Mhm.
spell. I mean, we got so many excuses, y'all. They have on your cell phone, they have a smart recorder. If
Yeah. They do.
you can speak it into the smart recorder quietly in a safe space, away from people, and it will literally print out the text and send it to email.
But then again, it's your journal. So who's going to see it? You know what I mean? People put too much pressure on themselves to have to be
Mm.
perfect. Healing is not a perfect process. Healing is a messy, ugly, dirty process. This is not a process of
Oh,
perfection.
oh, really? Say it again, because I don't think they heard you. Like, like, say
Yeah.
it again.
Yeah, I think people are really looking for perfection in their healing processes, that things have to be perfect, that things have to turn out perfectly. And that's not true. Healing is a dirty, messy, ugly, gritty process, and it's going to require you to have to make mistakes. Things are not going to be perfect. Things are going to feel excruciating when you heal sometimes, especially when you're dealing with trauma and shame and different things of that nature, but it's necessary. So even if you're not perfect at doing something, do it anyway. The important part is that you're being intentional about healing and making sure that you are whole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
making sure that you're whole. That's the
Mhm.
whole purpose. That's the whole purpose. The whole purpose of you today, to make sure you're whole. Because if you're whole, then you can be that whole person to your kids.
Yeah.
Especially for individuals that have been in domestic violence relationships, whether it's physical or emotional or financial or verbal, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
um, when we show up to our kids in that relationship, we not showing up even 25%.
Yeah.
And the
Mhm.
longer you've been in that relationship, honey, you probably showing up at 0.2%. Like you really don't eat. You are like the
That's
car
true.
is just about not to back out of the driveway. That is like that's it. Like I lived it, so
Yeah.
I know where
Yeah.
you are. If you're still there, trust me, I know where you are. That's why I can get on here and talk and kind of go through with it. But that's why it's so important, and that's why we have a series, is to talk about the healing process, because we want to get out that relationship and we want to get in the
Mm.
next relationship and we want to skip the healing. But the healing is not for
Mhm.
them, it's for me.
Yep. Mhm.
It's for me. I have
That's
to
so true.
forgive that person who hurt me,
Yes.
you know? And I'm not doing it for them, I'm doing it for me.
Yep.
Even if even if my counselor, my therapist told me to write a letter to this person and forgive them, I don't have to mail it. In fact, I'm not gonna mail it. but I but I know in my heart, and I know that me writing this out, that I have forgiven this person, or I am in the process of forgiving this person, and then I'm going to forgive me. Can you talk
Mhm.
about like how, or the experience of forgiving yourself? Um, after bad mistakes or failure or toxic relationships, what it does to our like our brains, our souls, our spirits.
Yeah, I think it's probably the last component of forgiveness. A lot of times, people don't realize that it's easier to forgive other people than it is to forgive yourself. Usually, you're holding something within, blaming yourself for something, feeling as if you are, the reason something happened. And even though forgiveness can be hard for other people, I find it that people have a hard time forgiving themselves at the end of the day. And so it's very much so like a jail cell, right? It's like being in
Mm,
a prison sentence where you are constantly in a place of blame and self rejection. And so you have to be intentional about saying, you know what, I made a mistake. I didn't do things the right way. It was my decision to get into this relationship or to be in connection with this person. They did not treat me well. I did not leave when I was supposed to leave, or I should have left. I've made some very bad mistakes or just bad decisions in general. And you have to be okay with knowing that that is not always who you're going to continue to be. If you're putting in the work to heal, that's your past. That's not your future. And so rejecting yourself based on something you did not know, or rejecting yourself based on a place where you were broken, or rejecting yourself when you made decisions based on codependency, or you made decisions based on the trauma you've experienced in your life, or you made decisions based on your mother and father wounds that you had, and just your upbringing and the dysfunction that you were raised in. Those are you make decisions based on what you are cultivated in childhood. And so if you didn't know any better, you couldn't do any better. And so I think it's extremely important that as who you are today, and you are making steps forward and you're being intentional, and even if you're listening to this podcast, that says that you want information and you want to learn how to heal and how to become better and how to do better. And so we can't measure ourselves based on what we did not know. You can only measure yourself based on the intentions you are taking today. And so self-rejecting yourself in a cycle of, I should have done better, those thoughts that just become very overwhelming in your mind about what you should have done and what you could have done and all those different things. You have to be intentional about silencing those things. And then you have to be intentional about making sure that you're not continuously rejecting yourself based on your faults, your flaws, or different things of that nature, but being intentional about building yourself up in gratitude and affirmations and validation, which can't come from anyone else. So it's important that you take those steps forward.
love it, love it, love it. She
Yeah.
said that it can't come from anybody else, right?
Yeah.
That it comes from you because you
Mhm.
telling yourself that I'm not worthy, I'm not
Yeah.
valuable. Um, he doesn't love me, or she doesn't love me, and well, I don't love me either.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
and I know, like, as far as being in that DV relationship, being to the place where you're carrying the guilt, you're carrying the shame, and you're so angry with yourself. Like, it gets
Yeah.
past the person, okay, yep, they doing this to me, but it gets to the point where you have now accepted it. You're no longer in denial, like, oh my God, did that person just hit me, or did they just curse me out, or did they just,
Yeah.
take my whole check and use it, and I don't have my money anymore. Now I'm walking to work, or I'm struggling, or I'm borrowing money,
Mhm.
whatever the case may be. I'm talking about, you're in a place where you're accepting this abuse, no matter what
Yeah.
form that it comes to you in, you're accepting it. And then you are like literally beating yourself up every day. And
Mhm.
then you're mad. I know for me, I would be mad at myself, like, dang, I should have left last week.
Yep. Mhm.
Dang, I should just get out of here. And then I'm like literally putting on makeup, covering up my bruises, talking, I'm so stupid. I'm so dumb. I should have just, and I'm beating myself up, and I'm just throwing all these negativities continuously at myself,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
that individual was throwing at me. Now I'm throwing them at myself, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
Raven just said, it's us. We have
Yep.
to do the work, and in changing our mindset, we're changing our words. We're speaking those positive affirmations over us. Um,
Mhm.
and that is a part of our healing process, beginning to change that language and forgiving ourselves. And that is so true. Forgiving ourselves is way more harder than forgiving others, right? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Oh my God.
It
That's
is.
like a
It is.
revelation. I don't know about y'all, but I got it. I receive it. I receive it. I receive it. Oh man, that's good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's good. I don't know about y'all, but I'm getting some good information to apply. We can do the work. We can do the work. Um, man, man. So what would you say to the person who is struggling and having a battle? They set out, they did everything right in their eyes. They went to school,
Yeah.
they got their degree. She got a bomb paying job. She
Mhm.
worked on a
Mhm.
job 10 or 15 years. The job is now over. She finds herself in the middle of life.
Mhm.
She's no longer making that six-figure salary. She has children. She has a house. She has a car. She got going on. But um, her failures continue to just rise to the front, rise to the front, rise to the
Yeah.
front.
Mhm. Mhm. That's definitely when you really do have to start doing some deep work, because number one, things are never going to validate. That's the first and foremost. Things never validate. You can have the
Mm-hmm.
fanciest car, you can have the nicest house, you can have the, white picket fence and, bank account stacked and all those different things, and you can wake up depressed every single day. And so it's important that, number one, that we don't think that our stuff validates us or makes us worthy, or we don't find our identity in what we have or what we can do, because that's always going to end up leaving us empty, right? Because those things are fleeting. They can change at any moment. People can lose their jobs. In the pandemic, so many people lost their jobs. Women in particularly had to stay home more than ever, because they had children at home that needed assistance with in-home learning and different things of that nature. And so you can never find your identity in your stuff or what you do. And so you have to ensure that you build up yourself so much so that if you had nothing, you still feel like $1,000,000, right? If you had nothing left within you, you still feel like $1,000,000. And that takes a lot of mindset work. That also takes a lot of internal work, making sure that, affirmations and things you did not receive in childhood from your father or your mother, if you did not have a good relationship with your father and your mother, and what that dynamic was. You have to seek all the way back there. You have to start thinking about all those different things that happened. What was my dynamic like with my father? Was he present? Because fathers are the first parent that is supposed to confirm and affirm your identity. They should be building you up in who you are
Mm-hmm.
and
Hold on,
speaking
wait a
good
minute,
things
wait,
over you.
wait, wait. You got to say that loud and proud again, because we want to say it for the fathers, and I want to say it for
Yeah.
the mothers that just celebrated, or that's getting ready to celebrate Father's Day for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah, please say it again.
when it comes to fathers, it's extremely important that you are the first. Fathers should be the first to affirm and confirm their child's identity. They should be the ones speaking over them what their future is to be, whether that's you are an amazing basketball player or you speak very well, you are beautiful, you are, X, Y, and Z. Those affirmations should really come from the father, and the mother should nurture those things. If a father speaks something specific over their child, then the mother's job is to nurture it, to bring it to fruition, to show up, to support, to encourage. And so if you did not have that in childhood, it's going to be very hard for you when you do make mistakes to feel like, oh, that's okay, I can overcome that. The father should be saying, in childhood, okay, you made that mistake or you didn't make the team. That's okay. That does not define you. You are still very skilled. You are still very gifted. You are still X, Y, and Z. And when you do not get that in childhood, when you have failures, you have mistakes, you have shortcomings as an adult, it's very hard not to turn your finger back at yourself and say, you are the mistake. You are the failure. And that's not the truth. What you went through may have not been a favorable outcome, but you are not a failure. You are not a mistake. And so we have to begin to think about how we view ourselves and different things of that nature. And so that takes the internal work, that takes the inner work, starting all the way in childhood, thinking about your dynamic with your mother and your father, and then being intentional about saying and confronting yourself and confronting your self-limiting beliefs. That's a belief that you have about yourself, that you are a failure. When failures begin to come to the forefront of your mind over and over and over again, there's some type of internal belief that you believe that you are actually a failure. And so you have to work through that belief, because what you believe, what your thoughts are about yourself, is what your reality becomes. those are your meditation points, and that brings forth your reality. And so you have to start meditating on different things. You have to start thinking of yourself in a different way. And so it's a step-by-step process for sure. It's not something that's going to change overnight, but you probably heard me say a million times, you got to be intentional.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and what you just said, I kind of want to paint a picture to just make sure that I'm understanding it right, and so that everybody listening is painting it right. Are you saying that the father has the seeds and he's planting the seeds inside of the good soil, which is the child, and then the mother is to come behind it and do the pruning and do some watering to help cultivate that seed so that it may grow up and produce good fruit?
That is a good visual. Yes, that's exactly it. That's a good visual.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, that's
Okay.
exactly
So
it.
and that is, man, that is such, man, I just love that you came on
Yeah.
the show and you just shared that piece. I think that is so, man, it
Mm-hmm.
really paints a picture of what fathers are supposed to be doing in their children's life. Why it's so important for them to be there from the beginning and to
Mm-hmm.
stick with that child.
Mm-hmm.
And so for
Yeah.
mothers that are pushing those daddies away, they have a purpose, right? They and their purpose is to plant a seed. Now, I'm not talking about that toxic daddy that's planting bad seeds. Come on, I'm talking about the daddy that got some good seeds. He gonna
Yeah,
produce
yeah,
some good
yeah,
fruit. That's what I'm talking
yeah.
about. And then fathers that are listening. That's your job. That's your purpose. That's one of the
Yeah.
things that you were brought to earth for, in addition to everything that God has for you. But when you come and you connect with a woman and you create a being and you are blessed with a child, that is what you're supposed to do. You are supposed to plant the seeds that will produce the good fruit. We need
Hmm.
more daddies. Where the daddies at? Daddy,
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
stand up
That's true.
and return to the home.
And even to add to that, when you think about it, women are never supposed to do that. That was never our pressure. That was never something we were
Mm,
supposed to carry, where our job was to plant the seed. And so we don't even necessarily have what it takes to do it. We have to try and make a imitation, in a sense, of what the father's role is supposed to be, because the father has his role and the mother has her role. And so sometimes women have to show up in that capacity because fathers are not there, but it was never our job to do so. And so that's why you see women that are single parents so stressed out. They're carrying so much of a load that they, shouldn't have to carry, but unfortunately have to do. The pressures of it all becomes a lot, and they're angry and they're upset and they're frustrated and they're
mhm,
yelling, and they're all kind of things that are happening because the pressures of what they've been experiencing was never meant for them to actually have to do the work that it requires to plant the seed in the soil, to ensure that it grows and to make sure that the right seed is being planted, was never their burden to carry. And so when women have to do that, they are angry, they are upset, they are frustrated, they are overwhelmed, and rightfully so, because it was never a hat that they were supposed to wear. That's a role for a man and for a father. Yeah.
whew, that's good right there. That's good right there. I just had to go and add that. Banner fathers do the work of planting the seeds in the children. And it
Yeah.
makes so much sense of the frustration and why so many mothers down through the years have not been able to enjoy life in the way that
Yeah.
they could or should,
Hmm.
because they are too busy planting seeds in this one and planting seeds in this one, and then they're pruning this one and they're pruning this kid and
Yeah.
they're cultivating this kid and they doing this. Oh, I got to repot this one because this one with the
Mhm.
I don't know what happened
Mhm.
with those seeds, but I got to do this again. And I mean, when you think about it, and for me, I think about, my mother was like, don't talk to boys, don't touch the boys, don't touch boys, don't let them touch you. That's it. Bam. And my dad was like, a man should do this. A man should do this. If this man is not doing this for you, or if this man is not showing you this, if a man is going to show you his character this way, a man is going to show you who he is this way, a man is going to show you in the first couple of weeks if he want to work or not. A man is going to
Yeah.
tell you, he's going to tell you who he is. He's going to also show you who he is. And if he hasn't shown you in this time, don't worry about it, baby girl, because it's another bus coming. And he
Yeah.
began to plant those seeds in me from age 14. And it just
Mm-hmm.
went on, for such a long time. And it oh my God, it saved my life.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
saved
Yeah.
me from
Yeah.
so many bad situations that I could have been in. But if I never would have got that, because all I got was, girl, don't touch them, don't talk to them, don't let them touch you,
Mm-hmm.
don't let them
Mm-hmm.
talk to you. But that didn't teach me what I needed to know about men.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That didn't give you a blueprint. It just gave you a
Never.
guide. It gave you a guide, right? But it didn't give you the
Hmm.
map. So what am I doing with
Yes.
this guide, right? So that's the difference. And so, mothers and fathers together are needed, not separate. There are
Yes.
two roles
Yes.
that are needed to cultivate children. And that's the unfortunate part, with broken families today and different things that children and even adults have had to experience, and why so many people are broken, because it really does start with the family dynamic, but behind that is the individual. And so that starts again with the family dynamic and what happened in their childhood and their families. And so it's an ongoing cycle. And so, yeah, it's definitely important.
Absolutely. And for those
Yeah.
that are listening, if you don't want your child caught up in that cycle, you have to know who you are. And
Yeah.
then
Mm-hmm.
I also think that even in relationships that did not work out, if that father is planting those seeds and you as the mother can come behind him and do the work, and you guys are co-parents, and it's a big thing. That's the word now, co-parenting, right? um Everybody's doing it, right? Blended families. And if you can do that and work together, that means you're putting your biases aside. That means you're putting the pain that you feel that happened in that relationship aside. That means that
Mm-hmm.
you're putting your anger aside.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not saying, okay, and I don't mean put it in the back burner and then become that angry woman because you feel that you need to carry this load, but put it aside to the fact that, hey, he needs to do his part. I'm going to do my part. And we're together. We're going to raise this
Mm-hmm.
child. In that same time, I'm going to take my butt to counseling. It's virtual now.
There you go. There you go. That's the truth.
Yeah.
That's absolutely
So
true. Yeah.
I'm raising up this child, because you're raising up the child, and it takes years. You take like 18, 20 years, and sometimes a little longer to raise up
Mm-hmm.
and cultivate a person. That's just one person. If you
Mm-hmm.
got a few of them, it take
Mm-hmm.
time, right? So in that time, I'm not going to forget about me. I want to
Mm-hmm.
live my best life. I want to be happy too. So I'm going to
Yeah.
work on me so that what I'm giving that child is good, is,
Yeah.
is, is
Mm-hmm.
going into good ground. And I'm not
Yeah.
being, and I'm not spewing out words or of negativity. I'm not putting my
Mm.
depression or my anxiety off on them. I'm not telling them all my problems so that they need to share my burden, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to dry them out and break up the ground beneath them, the soil that they're growing in and processing in. But yet I want to make sure that what I have is organic, right? That organic
Mm-hmm.
soil, that organic goodness. I'm pouring only my kids only drink organic water. And um but being able to give them the goodness that you have. But if you don't know who
Yeah.
you are, if you are still stuck in that dark place and you have
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
healed and you keep moving quick and quick and quick, one day it's going to catch up with you. One day it's going to crush you to the point
Mm-hmm.
that not only are you doing the work, but you may end up in a place that it's going to be very, very hard for you to pull out of.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's the truth. Mm-hmm.
And then you can't do the work for that child. And then they have to,
Mm-hmm.
now the child got to turn around and pull you out. So now they're taking time out of their life because they were supposed to be this writer, or they were going to be an architect, or whatever they were going to do. They can't go
Yeah.
pursue it because now they got to help mama get her life
Mm-hmm.
together, get off her feet.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just not a child's role. It's not their responsibility. And that has effects on in itself, when a child has to be a parent at a very young age. And so that's traumatic, and that causes a lot of attachment issues and different things of that nature that are just unhealthy for anyone to have to go through. And that shows up later on in romantic relationships as well. So it's important. All of it is so important from start to finish. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to switch gears a little bit, and I have a fun segment called Spill Your Guts. So I would like to know what was the or what was one of your favorite things to do during the pandemic?
One of my favorite things to do during the pandemic was probably, oh, that's a good question. Probably watching, catching up on shows like Netflix and different things like that as a family with my husband.
Okay.
We found the most amazing series to watch during the pandemic, so that was pretty fun.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you. That is our time for the show. We have to have her back because she gonna help us heal, y'all. Um, but it was just so good. The knowledge that you gave us, you really gave us some good stuff, and
Yeah.
just a great encouragement of helping us to do the work, and
Mhm. Mhm.
that's what we
Mhm.
need to do. We're at a season in the stages of our life where we need to do the work. We know how to find a
Absolutely.
therapist. We know how to see if they accept our insurance. Like it's no longer that the help is not available. Now the help is available, and the help can come to you on your cell phone.
Yeah.
So now it's time to do the work. It is absolutely
Absolutely.
time to do the work. So tell us how we can find you, how we can connect with you, anything that you have going on in 2021 that we should be aware of. Let us know.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you can find me. You can visit my website at www.ravencnole.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube at Raven C Nole. That's Raven C as in cat Nole. I don't have anything specific as far as packages going on right now, but every year I do a program called the Group Soul Clinic, where I get together about 30 women to walk through a process of transformation and healing. And that will be opening back up in 2022. But I am enrolling clients at this time. So if anyone is interested in being a client of mine, you can go to www.ravencnole.com/the Soul Clinic, and you can find more information out about that.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So you guys heard it. We have a specialist. I told you I'm bringing the specialist to help us hone in on our identity, creating helping us be the best women that we can be, the best person that we can be as we move forward in life for our children, for our husbands, for our families, for our jobs. Ain't nothing like a mean person on a job. We know something is happening on the inside. um, but being able to be our best selves, that is crucial. That is
Yeah.
um, something that we cannot take for granted. We can no longer take our happiness for granted. As we seen 2020, so many people died. People were dropping like flies, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to live. And I want to live
Mm-hmm.
happily. I want to live freely. And I don't want anxiety and depression to wake up and be on either side of my pillow. It's just
Yep.
not an option. Stress,
Mm-hmm.
nope. Stress, I don't want stress. Stress like sending me a text message. You ready? No, I'm not. So if you want to leave us with a favorite quote or just something to remember or just something inspirational, please do.
Yeah, yeah. I would definitely just leave anyone listening with this encouragement to make sure you are intentional about your healing. Heal well because you're worth it and you're deserving. Sometimes we count ourselves out as if we've done too much or we're not worthy enough. But who you are today, you don't have to be in the next 3 to 6 months, the next year. You can change everything by making a decision to take the next steps to healing and making sure that your soul is healthy and to pursue wholeness. So be encouraged, be intentional, and do what's necessary to heal you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on our show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, guys, that is our show for today. I hope that you got some good nuggets from that. I got some new information, so I love that because it allows me to grow. And every year, every day, we should be growing. And I like the fact that Raven said that in the next 3 months, you can be different. In the next 6 months, in the next year. And so that shows that, yeah, the process may last longer than that. But if I start today, don't wait till tomorrow. Google it tonight. Go to her website tonight. If I start today and begin to do the work on myself, who will I be in 3 months? Who will I see in 6 months? What am I going to look like in a year when I really do the work on me? And I love the fact that she said to be intentional. So be intentional on applying yourself to your healing journey. Be intentional on walking through the process. Be intentional. Grab my book, Decisions. What are you waiting on? If you need a journey, you need more inspiration, read The Journey. It is a journey of faith through a domestic violence relationship, right? It's a fictional story, but it shows you how someone went from a broken place to a place where she began her healing journey, where she began to become whole, where she had an epiphany. She began to realize her own value and her own worth. So listen, you know where to go, www.mffproject.com. Grab the book, and I will see you guys again next Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. That is my time for today, and I will see you guys again. Thank you for watching.